Spyder's back, right back at you. And this session is going to be on, partly on the Canadian racial, like I said, but back to back here. And then I'm going to do my last session on Halifax Stadium. So 3 in a row, which I think people deserve because I've been away. But this one's mainly going to be titled like what the new CFL Commissioner needs to do. What he has to do. What are necessary changes that he has to make for the CFL to survive. Okay? Alright, so I might have touched briefly on a session like this, but I think it's still good to get it out there again. I know I got my camera at a different angle this time. I don't know how it's going to work out. Maybe that's why I'm not getting as much light, but next time I'll bring it back to the angle I've always had my camera at, okay? Just happened to work out that way, and I needed to get on set and so forth. So anyway, let's get into this. This is important. If I was commissioner of the CFL, if I was Johnson, because he hasn't earned my respect at all. I sent him my presentation, my full presentation, right here. Right, you can find it on my Facebook page, SPYDER CFL Red Zone Rule Facebook page, by the way. Go Stamps on Saturday against the BC Lions. So anyway, there's my last full presentation. Well, actually, that was my first. This was, and then I revised it. Or actually, this is the revised version. That's on my SPYDER CFL Red Zone Rule Facebook page that I sent to the new Commissioner Johnson. He has it, and he never even acknowledged it. Never even acknowledged. You imagine? I spent over 5 years my CFL Red Zone Rule. It's a fantastic presentation. Read it. Go on my Facebook page, SPYDER CFL Red Zone Rule Facebook page. Okay, you'll see a photo like that on the top of me. That's my SPYDER CFL Red Zone Rule Facebook page. If you Google SPYDER CFL Red Zone Rule, or just Google SPYDER CFL Red Zone Rule, and you'll see right away SPYDER CFL Red Zone Rule Facebook page. And you can read my full presentation that I sent to the new Commissioner Johnson. And he didn't even acknowledge it. Can you imagine? He didn't even acknowledge it. That's our commissioner. That's not a commissioner. Okay? Because my CFL Red Zone would have been adopted. Greg Johnson would have stayed. It would have been adopted the next year. He told me that on phone. Okay? And the thing is, in my CFL Red Zone Rule, what's called Inside the Red Zone Rule, the first, started 5 years ago, or a little more than 5 years ago. Now, yeah, almost five and a half years ago or so. Or I have to well, not my next session on the stadium situation in Halifax, but my next session after that, and I won't be a month, by the way, because when I close down my pool next week, I'll have more time to go back on set. In the fall, I'll be on a lot more, leading right up to the Grey Cup and after the Grey Cup, like I did last year. So you'll see me more. But anyway, in the summer, you don't as much, even though the CFL starts, because it's summer, right? And I'd have to blast the air conditioning in here, which I was on. It's like I didn't go away. So come on back, please subscribe. Okay, I want your comments because I'll read them. Come on, Brad McDonald, where are you? Say hello again. And say Eric McCloud, say hello again, and others. Please subscribe. Need more subscribers, okay? Please. I wish I would have said that from the beginning. But anyway, the problem is because on the internet it's hard to be discovered. Really hard. So get the word out there. Spread SPYDER CFL Red Zone Rule, okay? Positively and get it out there. I mean, it was there since I haven't been on set for a month, but all the games I watched, my SPYDER CFL Red Zone Rule is there, just staring the CFL right in the eye. Every game. Far and large, I'm going to send you an email, okay? And you got to be bold. You got to be the one to say, oh, I wish we had SPYDER CFL Red Zone Rule, because the easy chip shot field goals were brutal. Since I haven't been on set for a month, all the games. It's there, every game, just staring the CFL right in the eye, just waiting to be adopted. Okay? But Commissioner Johnson, here's the difference between between you and Commissioner SPYDER. Okay? So I act as commissioner right now, and I'm going to tell, and here's right here, Deadwood. No, it's not. It's a lie. Let's hope it is. Knock on wood. I'm not going to call you Deadwood Johnson. I just want you to listen, okay? You got to start listening. You're not listening. That's why nothing's being done. You're not doing anything. But there you are, Mr. Johnson, right there, and I'm talking to you. And you have to listen, Mr. Johnson. I want to tell you right now what you have to do, okay? The number one priority, what you have to do, okay, is you have to have the CFL Canadian ratio abolished. It's got to go. Number one priority. Has to go. Gone. CFL, and part of that first major priority is /2, part 2, the Canadian guaranteed, because the Canadian starter ratio is also guaranteed. I call it the handcuffing dictating Canadian rate, guaranteed Canadian starter ratio. There it is. Say it again, nice and smooth. Handcuffing dictating guaranteed Canadian starter ratio of 8 needs to be abolished. So the 1 and part 2 of 1, the guaranteed handcuffing dictating huge half the Canadian roster or more guaranteed Canadian roster ratio has to be abolished too. So that's number 1. And that is a big one. And what you have to do is you have to go to the owners, because I can guarantee the majority of the owners, any of them that have a brain, don't want the Canadian ratio. You think the Canadian ratio is selling CFL football? It's not selling CFL football. It's doing the opposite. Okay? Because it doesn't allow the best available players to start and play at every position for an entire CFL game. So how do you sell CFL 3-down football? Well, it's not. And empty seats don't lie. Actually, a massive amount of empty seats don't lie. So, Mr. Johnston, yeah, wake up. You know, you're falling asleep there. Mr. Johnson, did you hear that? So you know what you have to do? Well, you need SPYDER if you can't do it as a commissioner to do it. You know what you have to do? I'll tell you what you have to do. And it's what I would do. You have to go to the owners. You have to sit down with them, okay? And you have to tell them that the Canadian ratio is not selling CFL 3-down football. It's obvious. Canadians aren't even patriotic. Tell them they're watching all NFL football. And they're supposed to be so patriotic now. They're not patriotic. They're brainwashed American football. They're basically Americans. You ever hear of another country running down your own brand of football in your own country? Like, there wouldn't be a country in the world that would do it. Okay? So, you got to stop playing politics and being a leftist. Okay? And being political. You have to stop it. Okay? Sit down with the owners around the table and you have to have the facts. And those are the facts. It's not selling. Here's the evidence. Look at the empty seats. People aren't going and saying, coming in, I'm buying a ticket and lining it all up saying, I'm supporting Canadian football because of the Canadian ratio. And that's why I'm going to the game. That's the only reason I'm going to the game. I don't care if all the Canadian players get injured and they bring in like third string, fourth string that aren't even good enough for half of them to play college football at the best. Comparing with the best players in college football. Like, I don't care. I'm going, I don't care if they're no good. I don't care if my team loses 50-0. I don't care if the Canadian players have no business being on the field. I'm going to a CFL game because of the Canadian ratio. Because I want to see Canadian players play CFL 3-down football. Then why isn't the stadiums full then? Why they're empty? Canadian ratio is doing the opposite. It's destroying the CFL. Because no person in their mind would pay $50, $60, $70, $75, $85, $900 $100 to go to a CFL game to watch players and Canadian players because of Canadian ratio that are only there because of passport on the field when they're not even good enough to be on the field, when there's better American players sitting on the bench and they're not allowed to play them because of Canadian ratio. And that's in CFL playoff games. That's every game, by the way. And it gets worse with injuries to the Canadian players, starting players, and for the Canadian guaranteed half the Canadian roster ratio too. Imagine. They're basically finding Canadian players off the streets out of retirement. It's just unbelievable. Like it's got to go. It's got to be over. No, people in Canada, sports fans, want to watch professional athletes, the best, play. They don't care. They don't care about their passport. They don't care what. They just want to watch the best. Case in point, NHL, Major League Baseball, MLS soccer. They don't have a Canadian ratio where they have to play Canadian players. Forced to. They're handcuffed and dictated. They have to play Canadian players. The Premier League, yes, but not MLS, not professional soccer. I don't call it CPL soccer, professional soccer. It's sort of amateur. Okay. And I'm going to get into Derek Martin special. You know, it's going to be part of it. The next session in the Halifax Stadium, that's going to be a good one. Wait till you hear that one. But anyway, Commissioner Johnson, are you listening? Are you listening? Canadian sports fans and the younger generation Canadian sports fan only want to watch the best available players playing professional sport. That's football, that's hockey, that's baseball, that's soccer. Very simple, Mr. Johnson. So you have to tell these, I hate to call them, but they got to be brainless, these owners. They keep losing tens of millions of dollars. They don't want to make money. And haven't they got, open your eyes. The Canadian ratio needs to be abolished, which means if the Canadian Players Association that are basically running the CFL and running it into the ground because they have 465% of the vote, the majority of the vote, okay? And they're hypocrites because they all want to go to the NFL and they want the one-year contracts. They want to go to the NFL more than American players, okay? So what you have to do, Johnson, is you have to tell all the owners, we have to lock them out. We have to abolish the Canadian Players Association. That's how we do it. We abolish the Canadian Players Association. We go to court because they'll never stand up. Because then the Canadian players, they can't go to the NFL and play. Okay? They can't. How can you say in a professional league, sports league, even though they use the word Canadian, okay? All right? But it's a professional sport, you're charging a fair amount of money for people to go to watch, to see the best players play, for their teams to be competitive. That's why the CFL is not, the teams aren't competitive, because of the Canadian ratio. So you can't charge these prices unless every CFL team in a professional football league, because it's supposed to be a professional sports league, is allowed, like every other professional sports league, to recruit, okay, the best available players, to bring them to training camp, and select the best available players to play and start at every position for an entire CFL game. So the Canadian ratio has to be abolished. Okay. So if it means shutting down the Canadian Players Association, okay, or going on strike, whatever it means, CTV. Sorry, I mean TSN. Sorry, you don't even put the CFL football on your #1 channel, TSN 1. On Labor Day. That's what you have to do, Mr. Johnson, President Johnson. Like, wake up! Hey, wake up! Wake up! Wake up! Wake up! Use your brain in stereo, both sides. Wake up, owners. Okay, you're all there sitting, 9 of you. Hey, wake up! Wake up! Wake up! That's what you have to do. Or the CFL is not going to survive, you bunch of imbeciles? Like, how long has this been going on? That's what has to be done. That's the #1 priority. #2, Mr. Johnson. And yes, if it means bringing down the Canadian players, that shouldn't be very hard. And take them to court if you have to. They would never win. Because they're all one-year contracts. They all want to go to the NFL. The Canadian players, like I said, more than American players. It never will stand up. You'll win. Okay? Bring all American players in. And the only Canadian players, okay, if I own a team, have to want to play in the CFL and not the NFL, and have to want to stay in the CFL, okay, and they'll have to make the team, like the American players said. That's the way it's going to be. And the CFL would improve tenfold, tremendously. overnight. Okay? And then they would be a player, and then would be way more respected and perceived as a real professional football like. So that's the number one priority, Mr. Johnson. Hey! Wake up! Wake up! Number two. Are you listening? Number two, Mr. Johnson. Number two. You need to bring in my SPYDER CFL Red Zone rule. I was going to put it number one, but I think the Canadian ratio is the most important. But number two, because it works like in a combo. Okay, you know why? Because if you're going to have the best available players now being recruited to play in the CFL, so all CFL 9 teams are going to be super competitive, a lot more competitive than they are now, like tenfold in comparison. Then you have to have the best rules. Not the gimmicky little hash mark, the hash pipe, that's a joke. Did nothing. In college football don't even use it. It's ridiculous. Oh yeah, it causes actually more 2 and outs. Okay? But you need the best rule because you know what? 4 down football in the red zone, the NFL is too many downs. 2 down football basically playing the CFL unless they're on the 1 yard line. That's the only time they go for it. It's too few yards. My rule has the ideal number of downs, 3 down football in the red zone to score a touchdown. That's why my rule is so powerful. That's why it has to be like the Canadian placer. It got to be like the CFL teams can now recruit the best available players. No Canadian ratio, but abolishing that and taking that, which it's a necessary, has to be done. Okay, it's necessary. It's needed. It's been needed for decades now. You need SPYDER CFL Red Zone alongside of it. You know why? Because now you're allowing the best available players to start and play in every position in the CFL with the best rule ever adopted in the CFL, in the history of CFL, and probably in all professional football. Because you know why? It'll be a more powerful rule than the NFL 4th down in the red zone. Because the 3rd down is the ideal amount of downs that should be allowed, needed, to score a touchdown. Not 4, not 2, but 3. And that's what my CFL Red Zone rule does, because it's an enforcement rule. So if you're on the 20 in the red zone, inside the 20 in the red zone, if you need the 3rd down, you'll be playing exciting CFL 3-down football to score a touchdown in the red zone using SPYDER CFL Red Zone rule. Okay? So CFL teams will be playing exciting 3-down football in the red zone. How exciting would that be? Just think of the drama. Not only offensively, but defensively too. Because the way my SPYDER CFL Red Zone rule works in a nutshell is that CFL teams, if needed on the 3rd down in the red zone, will be playing exciting 3-down football to score a touchdown. But if they're stopped defensively, what a big defensive play. They don't score a touchdown. And all the other regular CFL rules then will apply. But even more, because what it does, it creates this invigorating plot, war between offense and defense, right? In the CFL, in the red zone, and the drama is just off the wall. It'd be so super exciting. Every time in the red zone with SPYDER CFL Red Zone rule, you put the logo right on the 20-yard line. You make the 20-yard line red, like my diagram, and the numbers 20-yard line numbers red too. And on TV or on the field too, you put a logo, SPYDER CFL Red Zone rule. Okay? Because someone told me at St. Mary's quarterback said you have to keep Spiders because of the youth. It would really sell. Don't say just CFL Red Zone, it's got to be SPYDER CFL Red Zone rule, and I really agree. But what's so amazing about my SPYDER CFL Red Zone rule in a nutshell, that if they're stopped in 3rd down defensively in the red zone, and they don't score a touchdown, and they're not, okay, and then they're forced outside the red zone, because here's why it's so important, because, and I just want to do this chronologically properly, so I may have jumped ahead a bit, but I'll go back. So basically, the rule, my SPYDER CFL Red Zone rule in a nutshell is that, yes, defensively they stop them 3rd down, and they don't turn over the ball, fumble the turnover. They maintain possession of the ball on 3rd down offensively in the red zone. The SPYDER CFL Red Zone rule, they get the kick, SPYDER CFL Red Zone rule kick. From the 35, you add the 7 yards. It's 42-yard line. That's a challenging kick, and it adds even more excitement because it's a challenging kick. So that, and by the way, betting in the CFL with my CFL red zone rule in the red zone would be unbelievable. I'll get back to that in the end here about betting. Okay. So anyway, what's so great defensively with the invigorating plot, getting back to the plot, is that defensively in my SPYDER CFL red zone rule in a nutshell, that's on my Facebook page, by the way, okay, and in my brochures, that defensively, not only if they stop them to prevent a touchdown, but that if they push them outside the red zone defensively, they would prevent SPYDER CFL red zone rule kick for 3 points. Can you imagine? Can you imagine that? And the betting. Can you imagine the betting? The betting in the red zone, whether or not they would score a touchdown with SPYDER CFL red zone rule if they third downs needed, whether or not they'd be pushed outside the red zone, whether or not there'd be a turnover, whether or not that they would kick the SPYDER CFL red zone kick from the 42, if they could put it in. There'd be so many, like, oh, the betting would be unbelievable. The money that the CFL and the owners could generate be out of this world. And the sponsor tags too, that with the graphics that TSN could put on with sponsor tags, but CFL red zone rule graphics with sponsor tag in the red zone when they're playing with SPYDER CFL red zone rule, it'd be phenomenal. It's a winner. It's a game changer. And the betting, they could pull in the loot. They could pull in the dough. So that's a big part. Okay, so that's number 2. So number 3, marketing, branding. You need to dress up the end zones with logos. Okay, you have to sell the product better. Okay, you know, like, it's very important to dress up you have to have your logos and your team, CFL team logos in the end zone and at center field. All CFL teams. You got to be consistent. You got to market your product better. You got to sell it better. You need a CFL panel, CFL week panel on TSN to hype up, to go over the games from the prior week and the scores and the plays, exciting plays, pick out the best exciting plays, highlight them, okay, on the highlight reel, and then have in that same show, make it an hour, the games coming up, and analysts go over that. And you need a good panel to do that, okay? All right, and also the ball needs to be, I think the white lines need to go, because it's not high school, it's not college football, it's professional football. And the logo has to go. The logo's terrible. The CFL logo is so dull, you can't even see it on the field. You need to go back to the old logo, or similar to the old logo. Where's the old logo? Yeah, similar to the old logo. Okay, go back to it, make it more colorful. That's why the NFL logo is so good. It's so colorful. But you need to do that. Okay, marketing. You have to sell the game. You have to sell it. You need more CTV games. And by the way, you can't just have Eastern playoff games. Okay, CFL games and CTV. You have to have the Western too. That's ridiculous. Okay, and then you have in the Grey Cup, which you never had. But you need more CTV games on than you have on CTV. And TSN, you gotta stop pushing the CFL on channel on TSN 2 and 3. It's got to be always in channel TSN 1, and you gotta promote it more, and you gotta promote it as much as you promoted the NFL and the CFL. You got to do the same, and the owners, you got to start listening. You got to start listening, and that's what the CFL has to do, and then they'll be a lot more successful. Way more instantly a lot more successful. Okay, we're allowing the best available players to play by abolishing the Canadian ratio, entire Canadian ratio, guaranteed starter and guaranteed roster Canadian ratio, gone. Bring in my SPYDER CFL red zone rule. It'll be the biggest rule ever adopted by the CFL in the history of the CFL, and probably of all professional football, and I explain why. Okay. Do a way better job. You gotta make it mandatory that all CFL teams have to have their team logos in the end zone and at center field. All stadiums have to be the same. You got to market and sell your product a lot better. You need better ads. You got to come up with some better strategies of marketing your product and selling CFL 3 down football against the NFL. That's what I want to add to this. Against the NFL. Like my SPYDER CFL Red Zone rule, the 10 super key features and benefits, that's what the CFL has to come up with. 10 super key features and benefits to sell CFL 3 down football, against NFL football. And by the way, after my Halifax session in the stadium, that's going to be my next session. I'm going to come up with, just like I did with my zingers for my SPYDER CFL Red Zone rule, my top 10 compelling, by the way, 10 key super features and benefits. I'm going to do 10 super key features and benefits on why to sell CFL 3 down football over the NFL 4 down game in comparison, okay? And by the way, you imagine my CFL Red Zone rule, I'm going to throw that into there too, because you have to have my CFL Red Zone rule, okay, to be able to do that, okay? But I'm going to do it. And I'll add, also, I'll do it where my CFL Red Zone rule was actually adopted by the CFL, which it needs to be, by the way. So listen, finished 2 sessions. We did well. I thought they were very interesting. You got to remember, it's all ad lib, it's off the cuff, I'm improvising, but it's all off my head. And being away for a month, I think I did pretty good. And I'm coming back at you again on the Halifax Stadium situation in the Derek Martin special, CPO soccer special. What's going on with City Hall and Halifax, with the mayor and the province in relation to the Halifax Wanderers Derek Martin special CPL soccer stadium, and because of all these CFL haters in Halifax. Premier Houston, you're the only one who can stop this and do it right. I hope you do. I sent an email to you, which I'm going to get into in my next session, okay, that people need to know about. Anyway, take care. Please subscribe, okay? Please leave comments, okay? Love you. Thanks for supporting me. SPYDER, here comes SPYDER CFL Red Zone rule. Coming right back at you.